everyone, my name is Charlotte, and in today's video I will be talking about YA fantasy series that I bought because of TikTok and that I haven't read yet, but I am very excited to finally read in 2023. These series I've bought because of the hype of TikTok. Honestly, I am very easy to influence if people like it and if certain tropes and certain plot points are in the book, I'm gonna buy it. I'm not even gonna read the blurb on the back of the book. I'm just going to buy it because people like it. It has a few things that I like and give it a try, I guess. So far, I haven't really been mega disappointed in books that have been recommended. I'm going to show you my top 10 YA fantasy series that I am very intrigued to read in 2023. Those are not new. Those have come out a couple years ago or just last year. They've been talked about all about on Book Talk, but I just want to talk about them, say why I want to read them, because for this video, doing some research, I've actually read the blurbs and none of them so far have been disappointing, so I'm very excited to read them. Without further ado, the first YA fantasy series that I've been dying to read and I will read in 2023 is Throne of Glass. I mean, if you haven't heard of this series, you live under a rock. I've read Akota, so I love Sarah J. Maas's writing and world, and obviously I only heard good things about Throne of Glass. Yes, this is like a sort of special edition. I've been very intimidated by the series just because it's so long, and I personally like change. So reading 8 books just in one series, in one world, seems very intimidating to me, and I need time to invest in it, and I haven't had that sort of time because I would like to read them all one after the other, just so I'm like in this world and not thrown about with different plots and characters. So that's why I have not actually read that yet, even though I've read A Court of Thorns and Roses and loved it. And now I'm gonna love this, but it's the commitment and the time commitment mostly, which is why I haven't read them yet. But I own all these books, so that is the first series that I've been dying to read for a long time now, but I'm gonna make it my goal in 2023 to finally read this. Please, for any of these that I'm showing, I haven't read any of these, please don't put spoilers in the comments. I mean, yes, they're very popular. I've seen a few things here and there, but actually I haven't been spoiled yet for any of these. So I wish to keep it that way. You can tell me your excitement in the comments. I would love that. If you recommend them, you know, like, should I actually read them or is it like a waste of time? But no spoilers, please. But yes, this is the first one, and this is YA fantasy. It has a romance plot in it, I'm pretty sure. It has fae in it and magic, and I love that. I'm sure I'm gonna love this. So basically, I had no idea what this whole series is about. All I heard was Throne of Glass is good. Heard a few character names, seen a bit of fan art, and like people going crazy about it. But actually, what it is about, I had no idea. And obviously, I've only looked at the plot of this book, and there's 8 of them. So obviously, the plot develops from what I could gather online, because this doesn't have a blurb on it because it's got like a special edition, nice and shiny. It's about like an assassin who's fighting for her freedom, and she wants to kill the king, and then she like I think makes a pact with someone, and then they go on their journey. I could be wrong, to be honest, but I'm gonna read this regardless of what I know what the plot is or not, because I like her writing and people love it, so I'm gonna trust the people on this one. This is the first series that I am excited to read in 2023. Keeping theme with the author, the next series that I'm excited to read and make it my goal to read this year is Crescent City, also by Sarah J. Maas. Again, this series I haven't read, even though I know A Court of Thorns and Roses is good, and it's been hyped on TikTok. and Book Talk and BookTube, everywhere and anywhere. But again, it's a very intimidating series, not because of the number of books, but because of the number of pages. So, this is a thick ass book. And the second one is also. So, it's been very intimidating again to start this just because of time, which is really sad because I heard so many good things about this book. And again, it's fantasy, it's YA, it's got fae in it. Actually, I've read somewhere this is new adult, so I could be wrong on this. Anyways, it's probably a sort of in between. It's got magic in it, romance. Like, what can I not like about this? I know that I'm gonna like this, but I am just intimidated by the size of this. And I know once I start, I think it's pretty easy to read and stuff. So it's just the starting that is very intimidating. And the second book is also this big, so that's why I've kept off. But again, I bought this without even actually knowing what this is about. And this is about a girl, I think she's called Bryce, who wants to avenge her friend's death, I think, who was killed by a demon of some sort. But then she makes a deal with the fallen angel. He's called Hunt. And they discover like dark powers, and I guess we go on to their story as they like dig deeper and discover things about the city, the Crescent City. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love this. So I'm really excited to give this series also a try this year. But I just need to get over this intimidation factor from these books. Now, the third series, I'm pretty sure is new adult, but I've also seen this raved about on Book Talk and BookTube actually. And it's the Furyborn series. Well, it's called the Imperium series. After researching what this book is actually about, it is fantasy. It's YA, though I've heard it's also new adult because it's got a few heavier themes in it. I'm not sure. I haven't read it. Let me know in the comments what it is. Romance, it's got in it, some love, some magic. This also has the trope of the chosen one. This plays over millennia. So there's this chosen queen, and she has to prove herself. So she has to go through trials to prove that she is the rightful queen. So either she wins the trial or the trial ends her in a way. And then 1,000 years later, I'm pretty sure, this whole story about this queen that has to win this trial to prove herself has become a legend. And then there's this bounty hunter, so that's 1,000 years later. There's this bounty hunter, Eliana. She joins this rebel captain, and they go on a sort of adventure together. They find out that there is like a cosmic war between Eliana and the queen from 1,000 years ago, and the connection between them determine the fate of the war and of themselves. So it's very much chosen one, fate, magic, millennial war, queens, empires, going on an adventure, finding things out. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be very interesting to read. I love reading about queens fighting for, the empire, defending it, also discovering new things about themselves, as well as the history, the past, the connections. I think I'm really going to love this. The fourth series actually is not technically fantasy per se. I don't know, from what I've heard, it's sort of within the realm of fantasy. It's not got fae in it or magic, I think. Maybe hints of magic. I'm not sure. I haven't read it. Anyways, it's a series that I'm really anxious to read this year because I've heard so many good things about it. And I don't know why I haven't read it yet. To be honest, I do know why, because last year was my romance era year, and this, I think, this only has like a subplot of romance, and I just wasn't feeling that last year, so I'm hoping I will this year, and I'm gonna make it my goal to read it in 2023. What series am I talking about? It's the Inheritance Games. This series is more of a mystery. I've heard thriller. I'm not sure if it's much of a thriller. It's more like mystery games, puzzles, YA. I think it's got a subplot of romance, like I said. It's put as contemporary, but I like to think it's got like a hint of magic in it. Just because of all these puzzles and stuff, I like puzzles and riddles and codes. They're magical for me personally, though this doesn't quite fit the fantasy genre like all these other ones. This is kind of a exception, but nonetheless, I've heard this is a very good series. People binge read this. The characters are lovable. The writing is very thrilling. The puzzles and the riddles, they keep people guessing. I like puzzles. I'm bad at puzzles, but I like puzzles. So I'm really excited to read this. This is about Avery. She inherits this billionaire's money. She inherits all of it. And in order to get the money, she needs to go to, what's his name? Tobias Hawthorne's house. However, in this house, his family lives, his grandsons and his sons and his family, and mostly his grandsons are important for this. They thought they're gonna inherit this money, though they didn't, so they're kind of pissed at Avery, and they kind of want to take down Avery because they think it's unfair that they didn't get the money but Avery did. So it's like, from what I've heard, the first book at least, I'm not sure how it develops because it's a trilogy as well. It's got 3 more books. I don't own them yet, but I have bought them because I've heard you just want to keep reading. This plot, from the first book at least, is similar to the film Knives Out. So if you've seen that with Daniel Craig, I can only recommend it. It's really good. This is very similar to it. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like this. Like I said, not really fantasy, but still very, very thrilling and mysterious. That is the 4th series that I'm dying to read in 2023. The 5th series that I can't wait to read more about it, actually, because I've already read the first book, is the Plated Prisoner series. This has 4 books. I only own the first 3 books because the 4th one isn't out in paperback, I think, or at least in this sort of design yet. And I don't like the design, the white one. I can show a picture here. It says white and gold. I prefer it like this. It's prettier, in my opinion. Anyway, I've already read the first one. So this series is actually new adult, I think. Again, I could be wrong. I think this got a few heavier subjects in it, a few trigger warnings. Please be aware of all these books that might have some trigger warnings. Please check out the first few pages of the book to see if anything triggers you, because some of them have quite heavier subjects in it. This one definitely has. So I think this is actually new adult. Romance, fantasy, fae, mythology. Is also a retelling of the King Midras story, and he is a king that whatever he touches turns to gold, I'm pretty sure. Like I said, the first book I've already read. I've tapped it a little bit. I didn't really like the first one. I liked it, but it was very slow. The story was quite boring. It didn't pick up until the last few pages. Saying that, I think the last few pages did a great job of introducing the actual storyline and make a good transition to the second book. So, and I've only heard good things about this. This is about the king who has a lot of subjects in his castle that do favors to him, if you know what I mean. And then he has got his favored, so his most favorite woman, and she is kept in the cage. She is of pure gold, and she is his sort of precious little thing that he takes care of. He found her, he cared for her when she was on the streets. I think we get to know a bit of her backstory. To be honest, I forgot most of it because it's been a while since I've read that, and it was so slow and sort of boring, so I kind of just glanced over most of these things. But basically, he keeps her in the cage, and she knows that she owes him her life. She loves him. She is sort of dependent on him, but then things happen that make her see the king in a different light, where she might think that he is not who he always said he was. So she kind of gets scared, and then she gets actually kidnapped, where this book ends. So she gets to go out of the cage, but still hidden by carriages, so people don't see her, because someone who is pure gold is very easy to just spot in the street. We don't get different POVs in this book, but I'm pretty sure in the second book we get different POVs, so that is also going to be very interesting. And it's just going to be very interesting to see her life out of the cage, to see who she actually is. Because she also has certain, like, she doesn't have tentacles per se, but she has like ribbons, I think they're called. Ribbons that come out from her, like, spine. I think it's 8 ribbons. Why does she have them? What are they? Like I said, the first book didn't super amaze me, but I think it's going to pick up and develop just the characters, who they are, and it's got Faye in it, which I am really excited about. The first book only includes them in the last few pages, because she doesn't met them until the last few pages. So I'm really intrigued where the story is leading to, because the first book was just sort of an introduction to her, to the king, and to their sort of relationship and pact almost. And so I think the story will definitely pick up. I mean, there's 3 more books to come. I'm really excited to finish this series and see what the hype is about. Now, the next series is sort of 2 series in one, because last year I read Dance of Thieves. I liked it, however, I was mega confused when I read this, because it is the first of this series. It's a duology, and this is the first of it. So you'd think, you get introduced into this world, into their abilities and characters and stuff, which you do to a point, but then things happen that just don't make sense. And that really annoyed me, because I had no idea why they would do that. And then I never read the second book. But then I found out that this trilogy, the Remnant Chronicles, comes before Dance of Thieves. So this properly introduces the world, the characters, the magic system, all of it. So I'm going to read this trilogy first, the Remnant Chronicles, reread Dance of Thieves. So these are technically 2 series that I am going to read in 2023. And this is, again, fantasy, YA, romance, magic, adventure. This book has the arranged marriage trope, which I do love, I must say. So I'm really excited to read this. This is about Princess Leia, who on her wedding day flees to a village. So she doesn't actually marry her mysterious prince, but in the village she wants to, like, be hidden and disappear, though when she meets 2 strangers she doesn't realize that one is the prince she was supposed to marry and the other is an assassin that came to kill her. So we get to experience, that story, that triangle. Who knows what's gonna happen? And we get an introduction into a magical world. It's got lots of adventure to it, and this is a trilogy. The Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves comes after that. So I shall reread Dance of Thieves with the knowledge that I gain from this series, hoping that I actually like this book a little bit more, because when I've read it first, like I said, I didn't like it because I didn't understand 70% of this book. Even though it's so pretty, I love the cover. I didn't know that these 2 series were connected, which I think a lot of people are unaware of. So if you had the same problem, because this was hyped on Book Talk, whereas this wasn't, at least not as much, mostly this. So if you're one of the people who also read this, I know a lot of people who just read this and loved it. That's great. I was very confused, which took this joy from me a little bit. So if you're one of these people, don't be scared, just read this series and then either reread this or you'll understand this much more after you read this. At least that's what I've heard. The next series that I am dying to read in 2023 is Legendborn. Again, this is a duology. I don't know if she's gonna write another book because Bloodmark, the second book of this series, has just come out. I'm not sure because I haven't read them, obviously. If it leaves off with a cliffhanger, if it is finished, but oh my god, just looking through the book right now, the font is tiny compared to some other books where the font is like pretty big. This font is tiny. It's not the thickest book, but it's not the thinnest either. And with a font this small, I don't know if you can see. That is very small font for me. Anyway, I get sidetracked quite easily. If you haven't noticed already, this again is fantasy YA, got magic in it, romance also, and this is also a retelling is what I've read online, though I'm not exactly sure. A retelling for what? Oh yes, it's about like King Arthur. Basically, there we have Bree. Bree is the protagonist of the story. She loses her mother in a car crash, I think. No, just in an accident. She loses her mother. She then joins this residential program, which is for really intelligent high schoolers. And in this academy, in this on campus in this academy thing, she witnesses a magical attack, and the people in this attack, they try and wipe her memory of this, though they do not succeed. And actually, while doing that, they unlock some of Bree's memories of her own unique magic, and also about the night her mum died. So she tries to get revenge and wants to uncover the truth about her mum's death. And then she meets this member from the Legendborn, which is this cult. The people there, they are descendants of King Arthur's knights, and a magical war is about to happen, and Bree really just wants to uncover the truth. She doesn't know if she should take the society down, so Legendborn down, or if she should join them in this war. So I haven't read it, but I, like I said, only heard really good things about Bree, about the writing, about the magic system is supposed to be really good and developed. I can't wait to dive into the world of Legendborn and Bree and find out who Bree is, because she looks really badass on the cover. The next series I want to finally read in 2023, it's Poppy War. The Poppy War trilogy. I own them all. They're here. I started Poppy War. Oh, there's actually my bookmark in it. I started it, but because the story is a little bit more on the historical side and a little bit more intense, and not as, it's easy to read. I don't want to say it's not, but it's not as easy to read as a simple YA romance. Like, let's say it's not as easy to read as A Court of Thorns and Roses. The vocabulary and the story is a little bit more developed and in depth, which is not bad at all. I'm just saying that for this book, for this trilogy to read, I need to be in the right mindset where I can actually focus on a book and focus on every detail rather than just read dialogue, which I only really do for books that are bad. Obviously, this has a lot of dialogue, but it's got a lot of description in it, lots of amazing world building, amazing magic system, and obviously the history part of it is very interesting. So it's just a little bit heavier to read, I would say. This is YA fantasy, historical fantasy, got hints of romance in it, I'm pretty sure. So I shall definitely get my head in the right headspace for this trilogy, because I want to know what the rage is about, and I know it's good. I don't think I heard one bad thing about this. So basically, this is about Rin. who is an orphan, and she passes this test that only a handful of people pass. And since she's an orphan, she's considered like dumb, I think, but she's so clever that she surprises everyone and passes a test so she can go to this really elite military school. And there she stands out from everyone because she is dark skinned and she is a peasant girl, so poorer than people who usually go to this academy. And she gets bullied from by her classmates, but in the meantime, she figures out that she possesses this mysterious power, and she goes on and explores the gift with her teacher. While she does all of this, the Empire is on the brink of starting a third Poppy War, because they already had the first and the second Poppy War, but they've just barely lost, I think. Yeah, they just barely lost the second one, so they're on the brink of a third one. You know, things might develop, things might change. She might be the weapon, the chosen one to stop the war. I don't know yet. I'm like 100 pages in, and like I said, it was really good. I just didn't have the time to proper get into it, which I hope I'll do in 2023. The next trilogy that I'm dying to read is An Ember in the Ashes. This series is quite old, if I am not mistaken. I think it's like 5-6 years old, this series, when it came out. This is, again, fantasy YA dystopian romance, which is a little bit different to the other books, nonetheless worse. Basically, we have Laia, who is a slave. She's from the poorer parts of the Empire. She's the protagonist. We've got Elias, who is a soldier in this empire. This empire is basically very bad. It has a lot of poor people in it that have to adhere to the empire rules, because if not, then they, get executed, bad things happen to them. And Laia's family, they have always done what the Empire wanted them to do. They've never stepped out of line. They are loyal to the Empire. But then Laia's brother gets arrested for treason, which is very strange. She doesn't know exactly why. So Laia goes on to this adventure mission, more like, to find out what happened. And she is forced to make decisions that end up in her rebelling against the Empire. While she does that and finds out the Empire's secret, she meets Elias, who is actually the school's finest soldier. So he's on the top rank of the soldier program. And they both realize that they're destined to meet, and their choices will change the fate of the Empire. So this sounds all very exciting. I wish I could just read all these books at once, because they all seem actually so amazing. I'm so glad I picked them all up and I trusted BookTok and BookTube, because so far from the blurb on the back and the initial plot, none of them seem disappointing. So I'm really excited to read them all. And I would be really interested to know if you guys are also people who get influenced very easily. You just buy books because people recommend them, if they fit a few criteria of things that you like, or if you, before buying, you read the blurb on the back and you research a little bit about the book and then buy it. I would be really interested to know if I'm sure I'm not the only one, but if I'm in the minority or majority of this sort of mindset. The last series actually that I really want to read in 2023 is this, The Daughter of the Pirate King, which again is a little bit different to the other books because this has pirates in it. It's a duology, but also again very hyped. I just bought it because it's been very hyped and it's rather thin, so it's an easy read, This is fantasy again, YA, pirates, also got romance in it. Obviously, as you could have guessed, I do like my romance. It's quite an easy plot. So there is this girl, Alosa. She's 17-year-old. She's a pirate captain. Wow. She needs to retrieve this artifact. She's on a mission to retrieve this artifact, but in order to get it, she has to get captured by her enemies, which is going to make it easier for her to get the artifact, get to her goal. But in the meantime, her enemy is a ruthless pirate who stands between her and the key actually to a treasure treasure trove. And basically, this is a clear enemy to lovers. He gets in her way, but then they slowly, get to know each other, get to like each other, and then probably end up getting the thing together. But things gonna happen. So this is a very classic enemies to lover with a pirate twist. I am really excited to read this. If you like Pirates of the Caribbean, it's sort of a similar vibe. Yeah, so these have been my YA fantasy series that I really want to read in 2023, that I know I'm behind on reading because I know people have read all of these already, but I really want to make it my mission to actually finally read them this year. So I'm really excited. All these stories seem amazing. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these series, or if you still have to read most of these too and are excited to read them as well. I would be interested to know if you're also excited to read them, or if you've already read most of these, if you recommend them, or if there's any other series that I really need to read in 2023, because this is the year of reading. I am excited. So many new things and good things are coming. I would love if you could, like this video, share it on your channels, subscribe to my channel for more videos, for more recommendations, reviews, and just new things. Yeah, so I wish you all a lovely rest of your day, start of the day, whatever time it is when you watch this video. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye!